Whoa, looking good, Mags.
What's that?
It's the best I could do.
PJ, where am I meant to conceal a weapon?
There's room in those pants, isn't there, Maggie?
It's a good look, Maggie.
Thanks.
Doyle, I need to know you're okay with this one.
And if I'm not, who gets to wear the wig?
If you're not, we'll do it another way.
Oh, I'm okay with it, boss.
All right. Now, the minute that door opens, you get the hell out of there, you understand?
Yeah, what happens if one of the guys
No
doesn't...
what-ifs. You've got to trust your backup. Once the door opens, you're out of there, okay, Maggie?
Vega sent me.
Vega?
Yeah, he said you might be able to help me out.
Oh, yeah.
Please! Against the wall! There's reason to believe there may be illicit drugs on the premises. Against the wall!
Talk about overkill, a little heavy-handed.
Here's a search warrant.
What information are you acting
Settle
on?
down or you'll be cut.
You are so bloody stupid, do you know that?
And you were so bloody slow.
You should have done what you were told, Maggie.
I was told to trust the backup.
You could have been pulled inside, all right? You could have been taken hostage.
Look, I kept the door open. Don't I get any credit for that?
None.
Afternoon, ma'am. Is there anyone else in the house?
No, just me. Too much bother for you to tell me what you're looking for?
Oh, this could be a sample.
Oh, really?
Your name, please.
Hannah Kentish, Mrs. And you are?
Detective Sergeant Peter Grantham, St David CID.
Nothing better to do with your time, all of you.
Do you mind searching Mrs Kentish, please, Constable? We'll start on the rest of the house.
Well, the dogs don't bite, but watch out for the cockatoo.
Hands in the air.
Love the wig. Reminds me of the mod squad. You wouldn't remember that, though, would you?
No, I wouldn't. Turn around.
Spill your guts for a bit of sunflower seed, mate? No? Have a look at this.
Do you get a kick out of this? Running around in fancy dress and busting people for a few grams of dope?
Found anything?
Just these out the back.
Just the two. Sweet.
Looks like your informant got it wrong.
If you're going to make amphetamines, you've got to have a lot of gear, don't you?
Yeah, can do.
Well, could they have broken it up and shipped it someplace?
Take time. You think we've turned up something by now? Maybe you did get a bunch, dear.
Maybe. Yeah, but country sheds are never this empty. Usually there's a bit of machinery, a bit of timber. Look at this. Water's connected. New copper piping. 4 gas bottles. Now, why would you want 4 gas bottles?
Looks like there's been a large vehicle here. Maybe a truck or something.
Yeah. No, whatever it was, it's gone now. Let's take her in for a bit of a chat, eh? Have a good look around. There's got to be something here.
How nice. Chauffeured to town with a police escort.
Adam.
What's with all the glum faces?
Adam, don't ask.
What happened? Stuff up. How? I'd like to know myself.
Who else lives in the house, Mrs. Kentish?
Just me, my husband Richard. Oh, slipped into something more comfortable.
And where is your husband now?
No idea. Went off on a fishing trip.
Without telling you where he was going.
He rings me every few days. He's heading off along the Murray.
Nice to be able to take off when you feel like it.
He's retired.
Oh. How old is he then?
46. His firm was getting leaner and meaner. Offered a good redundancy package and he took it.
Is the farm yours?
We rent the house and the rest of it's adjusted out. Look, what has this got to do with anything?
It's got to do with 2 plants that we found and who's cultivating them.
Forget about Richard. I planted them, I cultivated them. That's what you want to call chucking a bit of chook manure on them. I plead guilty on the minor charge of possession. Now, can we get the formalities over and done with? I've got to get home. I've got animals to feed.
It's not such a trivial matter, Mrs. Kentish.
Really? Isn't it? I would have thought it was. Really trivial. Look, I've been smoking dope for more than 20 years and I've never been busted. You can check it out. First offence, no prior convictions. Seems an awful lot of trouble, doesn't it? For something a third of the community do on a regular basis.
Adam, you be keeping an eye on that druggie in the cells?
Yeah, he's been asleep since late afternoon. I guess he was speeding for 36 hours or so before that. He must have dropped a heap.
Wake him up. I want his story on all this.
Found a Bunsen burner and some broken glass. Could have been test tubes.
What, in the house?
Out in the paddock, near the track.
How long have you lived at your present address, Mrs. Kentish?
18 months.
And before that?
Inner Melbourne. Richard got mugged in the street. Put in hospital for a month for the $20 he had in his pocket. That's when we moved here. Thought it'd be quieter. No one busting our door down.
Do a lot of cooking, do you, Mrs. Kentish?
I enjoy cooking. Why?
4 gas bottles in your shed?
So?
Why?
Richard got him cheap at a disposal sale. Thought it'd make us more self-sufficient, you know, save us going into town all the time for more gas.
With only the 2 of you to cook for, that's boiling a lot of eggs.
Richard got him very cheap. He likes poking around disposal sales and I preserve fruit. Whatever's in season.
Do all your cooking on a Bunsen burner, do you?
Of course not, I got a gas stove.
So what do you cook on a Bunsen burner?
What Bunsen burner?
The one we found on your property?
We don't own a Bunsen burner.
One of our officers found one. On the track behind the house.
Told you that's a gisted. It's not ours. Could be a dozen Bunsen burners there for all I know.
Why is there an electrical lead that stops in the middle of the shed floor?
I assume Richard was working on the boat before he left, using a drill or sander or something.
It's a big boat then.
24 foot.
That'd take a big trailer.
It does.
And water laid onto the shed?
What about it?
What's it for?
What do you mean, what's it for? Don't you have water and power at your shed? If you're going to insist on dragging this out, I think I want my solicitor present.
No problem.
That'll be a shame to disturb his dinner for something so little.
It's up to you, Mrs. Kentish. G'day, Harold.
It's Vega.
Okay. Vega. Well, the place was clean. Near enough.
Yeah?
I'd like to know why.
Are you sure you got the right place? It's happened before, you know. Cops roll up at 51. All the real stuff's at 51A.
So tell me how it goes again.
You knocked at the door, you said who it was sent you. You had to have a name or they wouldn't let you in. Oh, they had a real smorgasbord there. No smack, though. More speed than anything else.
You never saw any evidence of manufacturing?
They're not going to take an ordinary customer on tour of the works, are they? It's the impression I got. Quality, price, seem to come wholesale.
The stuff that you were arrested with, the speed, that's where you got it from? You never heard any names?
Look, I was in and out of there. Transaction took maybe 5 minutes. I didn't stop for a social chat.
The names Hannah or Richard. They ring a bell? But it was a married couple, right?
A couple in their 40s or so. I didn't ask for a wedding certificate. Can I, get out and get me bail now?
Hang on. We arrested a woman at the house.
thought you said it was clean.
Well, she's on a minor charge. But it might help your situation if you're prepared to identify her.
Oh, come on, man. Stuff you busted me for, I'm looking at no more than a couple of months, true?
No, maybe.
Yeah, a couple of months. Hey, but I testify against a couple of heavy-duty dealers. I wind up at the bottom of the river being eaten by the Epis. Now, that was the deal. I gave you the tip-off. You keep me out of it.
Now, you listen to me. That tip-off, pal, was a dud. Now, I could bring her in here and really screw you up. Do you understand me?
Well, don't bother. Because whoever she is, I'll have never seen her before in my life. And if you don't have the evidence, it'll just be my word against hers.
I'm heading over to the pub, you coming?
I'll follow you.
What about me bail? Can I get me bail now?
Organise a constable. Make sure his ID checks out and he's got a permanent address.
Only PJ knew about it.
No. One of your uniform blokes.
They're safe. Patterson, Doyle, Schultz, they're safe.
All right. What about the new young bloke, Cooper?
He was here with me, minding the shop.
Look, you can't have had your eye on him every minute, Tom. We're talking one quick phone call, a couple of words.
What, while you lot were on your way? Yeah. Get out of it. That would have given them less than 20 minutes to load an entire manufacturing plant onto a truck and get out of there. Maybe somebody saw you lot arriving and passed the word.
Oh, look, we didn't exactly roll into town with drums and elephants and flags waving. Nah. No, that raid should have been watertight. Apart from our people, the only other person who knew was Vega.
And he was in a cell the whole time.
And there's no way around it. One of our cops has tipped him off.
You were shown a search warrant, were you, Mrs. Kentish?
After they rushed in with guns drawn and pushed the door open,
On what basis was the warrant obtained, Sergeant?
On the basis that we had information there were drugs on the premises.
And who was your informant?
I'm not at liberty to reveal that, as you might expect.
You were warned of your rights, Mrs. Kentish, were you?
We didn't come down in the last shower, Mr. Walters.
Oh, they did it all by the book. Full-scale Operation Noah for a few lousy grams of dope.
That's 2 plants.
Plus 2 very small plants. Can we get the paperwork done, Mr. Walters, so I can go home?
Yes, I take it you've got no objection to the release of my client, Sergeant?
None whatsoever. Take over, Constable. Unconditional bail to appearance in David's Magistrates Court next Tuesday.
Yes, Sergeant.
What's your view on all this?
She could be genuine. Your average middle-aged dope smoker and nothing more.
But?
Well, she's a touch smug. I even got the feeling the dope was left there for us to find it. Divert us away from the real thing.
Which leads us to the conclusion that they were tipped off.
Yeah. Unless it was a routine move at the critical moment. Yeah. I'd say they were tipped off.
Any idea who?
Better guess. Sean. He's new. No one knows him that well, and I've heard he likes to bet. Maybe he's got debts.
Come on. It's pub gossip.
Maybe. I wonder if Maggie's heard it.
What's going on? St David's and Mount Thomas not speaking to each other?
No, it was a bit of a stuff-up earlier in the day.
Right.
There you go, 2 Imperial Sunsets. Enjoy.
Day they catch me drinking something with a cherry and an umbrella on top, that's the day they're going to have to cart me down the paddock and shoot me.
You gonna try one, Adam?
For sure.
She makes a difference.
I'm not sorry you took her on then.
No, she's great for the place. She brings in the young people. The old buggers grumble, but you know. Oh, you did me a great favour recommending her.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise when she turned up here. I haven't seen her since we both left school.
There you go, Adam. Take it slow. I'll put hair on your chest. And other parts of your anatomy.
Maybe you can check later.
It's on the house.
No, why? I'm paying.
Okay.
Catch you later.
What makes you think I'll fall?
How you left, Tommy?
Pretty disappointing raid, PJ.
Yeah, not one of our best.
Reckon one of your guys screwed up.
Do you now?
Well, something went wrong. It wasn't from our side. I think you're looking for a rotten apple.
Really? Well, why don't you do us all a favour, Saunders, and keep your crop theories to yourself?
You leaving?
Not permanently. I'm just going down the pub. You want to come?
Oh, no, not tonight. You're meeting Sean, are you?
Yeah, and the others, yeah.
Things going well with you two, are they?
Not bad.
Well, it's just that he's pretty new and nobody knows him very well, really.
Listen, boss, if you've got a problem with me seeing you...
No. I was just checking on the troops. Yeah, well, off you go. Have a good night.
Good night.
You want another Imperial Sunset, Adam?
No, I need to space it.
Yeah, like one a month.
Look at you three, watching it like three old shooks.
Rubbish.
Well, three old roosters then.
Crap.
This is ridiculous. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, sure. See you, John. See you, Digger.
I've heard Sean Neal likes a bit of a pump.
True, he does.
What? TAB?
Yeah, and the local racecourses round here.
Small-time punting or something more?
Small time, as far as I know. He's often broke on payday, but who isn't?
Well, that's Saunders.
Sometimes has a few more beers than he should, but he always walks home and he's never had a loose tongue. Now, you listen to me. I know Tom won't really consider the leak came from his station because you're all true blue in his book. But the way I see it, it never pays to keep your eyes shut. I take it you'd go along with that?
Oh, it's pathetic the way the boys are carrying on. They're just like a bunch of guys sulking. Anyway, why is it so important to pin a blame?
Well, something goes wrong, it has to be someone's fault. Copper's logic.
You don't think like that, do you?
Raids are always a bit of a gamble. You never know what you'll find. Maybe the hierarchy are looking for scapegoats.
Oh, that's ridiculous. It's no one's fault that the stuff wasn't there.
It happens.
You know, Sean, all this Mount Thomas versus St David stuff, it's not going to solve anything. It just creates division.
Well, Constable Doyle, it's our duty to set an example and bring the troops together.
Now, you're right, Detective Senior Constable. You want coffee?
Nah, it'll keep me awake.
You're going to sleep right away, are you?
Well, not right away.
It's not every girl that gets to have a police escort to walk her home.
You used to walk me home every night after school, remember?
Yeah, your parents thought I'd lead you astray and teach you bad habits.
Don't take it personally, Adam, but according to Mum and Dad, I managed to turn wild and get into bad company without your help.
I don't think your aunt's going to straighten you out. So did you then?
Did I what?
Go wild and get into rough company.
No rougher than you. Let's go. Night, Chris. Tomorrow night's cocktail is Angel's Kisses. Very creamy.
Night, Chris.
Good night. Thanks, Melissa.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
Oh, I was just passing.
Well, don't just pass again, okay?
Boss, Mrs. Kentish on the phone?
Yes, Mrs. Kentish? What police on the road? Oh, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. You've been dealt with. I don't see why our people to be hanging around annoying you. Yes, Mrs. Kentish, I'm sure you know what a police car looks like. As I said, just a coincidence. Thank you. Just what I need. Another stuff-up. Did you deliberately blow his cover?
There was no cover. She already knew he was there.
That's not the question I asked you.
Well, I don't trust this bloke, boss.
Oh, I see. On what grounds don't you trust him?
Well, I don't know. I can't pin it down. I just don't trust him, that's all.
So what, you drove by hoping to find him sharing a joint with Mrs. Kentish, eh?
No, I wouldn't say.
Then what?
Look, PJ thought he had a bit of a gambling habit and he thought it might be getting out of hand.
Did he actually have information that it might be getting out of hand?
No, not exactly.
So you decided to warn Sean that you guys suspect him. What else did PJ have to say?
We just thought it might be a bit of an idea if we keep an eye on him, that's all.
So was it PJ's idea that you drive by and stuff up a surveillance operation? Or was it all your own idea?
No. No, I think that was my idea.
Oh, well done. Well done.
Here he is, Flatfoot.
It's a routine patrol.
In a marked car past a suspect's house. Surprised you didn't have the bloody siren on.
Well, I'm a traffic policeman, you see, so that's my job. And I tell you what, it'd be no idea if you stuck to doing yours.
That's what I was doing until you blasted onto the scene.
Hey, listen, guys, why don't you...
You weren't driving by yesterday, were you? About half an hour before the raid?
I wasn't, but I'd like to know. Cut it out! What do you think you're doing? I presume you've all got work to do.
Max?
Mount Thomas Police. Yeah, hi, Chris.
Did, Sean discuss the raid with you at all?
When?
Before or after?
I didn't see him until we were all here, just beforehand.
Does he lay bets when he's with you?
Bets. What's this all about?
Does he?
Once or twice he has, yeah.
What sort of bets?
For heaven's sake.
Maggie, you and I have worked together for a while, right? And would you say that I'm a fool?
Don't tempt me.
Would you? Truthfully.
Yeah, I'd say that you can be wrong sometimes,
Fair
PJ.
enough. But has he ever borrowed money from you?
No, never. Unless you want to count the change for the phone in the pub, 40 cents.
Did he pay you back? The 40 cents?
Look, PJ, I'm not stupid. Now, if you want to say something, say it.
Just checking.
Yeah, right, I believe that.
All right, I'll ask you then, Maggie. I'll ask you now. Do you trust Sean?
Yes, I do.
You trust the guy?
I trust him. Now, you're nagging away at this because you think that there had to be a tip-off. Well, I reckon there's about half a dozen explanations that are just as likely.
You're pretty crazy about the guy, aren't you? I wasn't part of the interrogation.
Yeah, just back off, PJ. And if you've got something to say about the raid, you say it to Sean's face.
Melissa?
I know she's a friend of yours, but...
Melissa just wouldn't do something like that, not to you or to me. She might ask for a loan against her pay or something, but she'd never just help herself. She's really genuine, you know?
Yeah, I know, but...
And her family are loaded. They've got heaps of cash. And they're really straight, too. If she needed it, they'd send her the money.
Well, something's wrong, and it's not just the cash. There's some bottles of spirits missing as well. Just a few here and there, but it all adds up.
Well, have you asked your other employees?
Well, they're all local people.
That doesn't make them saints.
No, but I've known them for ages, and I've never had this problem before.
It couldn't be Melissa. Have you talked to her?
Well, she said she'd been giving a few people drinks on the house, but that still doesn't account for the fact that money is missing.
Well, it could be anything. Maybe your float was out at the start, or maybe you miscounted. Chris, it's not Melissa.
I certainly hope not.
I'm grabbing some lunch. Feel like a walk?
Yeah, let's get out of here. Take it.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it's a long shot, but if it comes in at 20 to 1, that's $200.
Wouldn't it be better to back a favourite?
My old man always used to say, never run upstairs and never back odds on.
Sean, I think we need to have a talk.
Well, since you've raised the question, I allow myself a weekly float of $50. Some weeks I win, some weeks I lose it all, but I never go beyond my weekly float.
Sean...
No, listen. I know horses. I like to follow the form and I like to have a bet. It's a habit I got into as a kid. My uncle was a trainer and I'd be down the track on before school, after school, on weekends.
You really don't need to explain
Yes,
all
I
this.
do. You see, I worked for him. I gave him back all my earnings to put on each Saturday for me. But then I found I was losing it all. I worked like a dog shoveling horse shit. And in the end, I wasn't making anything. I learned from the age of about 10 that you never really win if you're a gambler. Well, you never win by much. But, you know, I like the atmosphere of a racetrack. It feels like home. I like looking over the horses, trying to pick a winner, just for the sake of it. Putting on a bet's just a minor part. Make sense?
Of course it does. Look, I'm sorry I asked. It's just that when PJ brought it up...
PJ? Right.
Sean!
Hey, I want a word with you.
Oh, yeah? Here?
Outside.
Okay.
Even good cops can get in
Save the hearts and flowers speech.
A cop with gambling debts is vulnerable.
Hey, I don't have gambling debts, and in future, if you've got something to say, you say it to my face and leave Maggie out
I'm
of
just concerned for Maggie.
Oh,
that's
for God's sake, PJ, get a life.
The fact remains, Sean, we had the informant in custody, and he only spoke to coppers.
So just because I like the odd bet, that makes me the guy?
You tell me.
I have bloody told you.
PJ?
What?
That guy in the cell's the druggie. He made a phone call to his solicitor. He's entitled to, isn't he?
Solicitor? Oh, shit. Solicitor.
The solicitor acting for the Kentishes and the druggie Vega turns out to be, and wait for it, Greg Walters.
Oh, there aren't that many solicitors in town. His clients would have to overlap. He'd claim coincidence.
Too much of a bloody coincidence, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. But he'd be going out on a bloody long limb, though.
Yeah, but if we can get him on this, we can put him away for a while, and he'll be disbarred.
If we can get him on it. Mind you, if he's taking this sort of risk, it argues that he's got a real stake in things.
Whatever the Kentishes are up to.
He wouldn't be the first solicitor to go bad. Usually it's the trust account stuff, fiddling the funds.
Well, Walters has got a property out of town, a couple of k's from the Kentishes.
Be a bloody big risk.
He mightn't have any option. Kentishes are busted, say what they know.
So what he rings him up and says, oh, you better clear out, there's going to be a raid, and by the way, just drop the stuff over to my place.
Oh, those chemicals are pretty volatile. You wouldn't want to take the stuff too far. Whack it in the back of the truck. Chemicals mix together, bounce around, bang.
Those tyre tracks in the shed. What if it wasn't a boat trailer?
There you go. One caravan registered to Richard Kentish at his old address in Melbourne.
Well, that's it then. All he had to do was pull the plug, drive away, and leave his wife to fend us off when we rolled up at the door.
Yeah, but if it was a caravan, he could have taken it anywhere. It wouldn't have to be the Walters place.
Yeah, they probably stripped the van and set it all up. You got heating, cooling units, the works.
You wouldn't want to take it into a caravan park and have the person in the van next door wanting to borrow a cup of sugar.
What about the national park?
Near the roads, the rangers would ask questions.
Yeah, and you'd be hard put to get a van like that in far enough to hide it.
You couldn't go bouncing it along a bush track.
I think it might be worthwhile getting Paul here to take a look at Walter's place. From high up, one pass only, so no one on the ground gets nervous.
If they do, we'll be waiting for them. Get Grantham and Saunders in.
Where's Adam?
I checked the 50s before we started, and then I checked the till after the lunchtime rush. There were 2 50s missing and no extra hundreds, so that means they couldn't have gone out in the change. Now, Melissa was the only person who had access to the till in that time. I'm sorry, Adam, I'm going to have to let her go. And look, this is not your fault in any way. I hired her, and it was my responsibility to check up on her. I'm not convinced that would have done any good anyway.
I don't know how her mother's going to cope with this one.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, she won't have to. If Melissa's got any more bottles of spirits at her aunt's, she can bring them in, and that'll be the end of it.
Is she here now?
No, I told her to take some time off after lunch, so I could check the till. Oh, Adam, look, I know she's a friend of yours. Maybe it's better if we just leave it, eh?
I just feel really bad about all this.
It'd be more to the point if Melissa felt bad about it.
You did a part-time job at that pub, have you?
Someone's been nicking money from the till.
Well, Chris is lucky she's got you to sort it out then. Where the hell have you been?
I just sneaked over to the pub.
Look, this isn't some tea party you can just wander in and out of on a whim, Cooper.
Got any hard info, or is this another guess?
It was Sean's guess, mate. We're just taking action on it.
Action, you reckon? Bring a picnic lunch?
Well, we could be here for a bit, if you don't want to stick around.
PJ, chopper approaching.
Collier have sighted what could be a caravan about 200 metres behind the house. It's in a clump of trees and appears to have additional camouflage to make it difficult to see from the road.
Any sign of movement in or around the house?
Not from the air, and no one's answering the phone. Under Walter's place.
We're going to take a look around.
All right, but take it slow.
Yep. No stuff-ups this time.
I've been in touch with the drug squad. Nothing on Walters, which is just what you'd expect. I'm keeping them posted.
All right, 2 doors. As soon as you take the back, we'll take the front. We'll wait for you.
Don't move! Hands in front! Hands in front! I said don't move! This stuff mixes, the whole place is gonna blow, mate. We gotta get out of here. You're way of concealing evidence, eh? We gotta get out now, man! We have to go! Go! Get out of here, it's gonna blow! No! Get him down! Down!
Better than a cracker night, eh?
The caravan was on your property, Mr. Walters. Are you denying any knowledge of it?
Well, of course I am, Sergeant. Mary and I have a flat in town above the office. We hadn't been to the property for 3 days. We knew nothing of any caravan.
So how would you explain its presence there?
The Kentishes were my clients.
Were your clients?
Well, I have to consider my position here. They'd been to the property on a social basis. Mr. Kentish would have known that we stay in town during the week. He probably thought of it as a good temporary hiding place.
With no reference to you?
With absolutely no reference to me.
Well, we'll have to see what he's got to say about that one.
Sergeant, I have been a reputable solicitor in this town for many years. The suggestion that I may be involved in some sleazy drug manufacture is quite outrageous on your part.
Were you aware that we intended to raid the Kentishes?
No.
You weren't informed by your other client, Mr. Harold Radigan, also known as Vega, whom we had in custody at the time?
No, I was not.
Didn't pass that information on to the Kentishes? Tip them off, in effect?
Sergeant, I should take care here if I were you. These are very serious allegations.
Too right, Mr. Walters. Too bloody right.
All right, take off your belt and empty the rest of your pockets.
You know, there's no evidence now. It's all been destroyed, right?
Well, I'm sure forensic will find traces of something if they ferret around. We can both testify to what we saw. No, you should plead guilty. Might get off with a reduced sentence.
Well, hello, Mrs. Kentish. We're just wondering if you'd like to change your original statement now.
All right. Let's start with why.
It's not something we ever would have thought of once. But Richie got cheated. Badly cheated on his redundancy package. Didn't see much chance of him getting another job.
At 46?
You know what it's like when you're out of work at 46. We're looking at a pretty bleak old age. First the dole and the pension.
Save the taxpayers some money, eh?
Richard had a background in chemistry. An old mate gave him the recipe.
We would manufacture for 6 months and then give it away. The theory was in with no record and out before we got caught. And look, we grew up in a generation where you could buy speed on prescription. It did not seem that big a deal to us.
Unfortunately, the present law doesn't see eye to eye with you on that one.
Yeah, well, we've got these sledgehammer laws. I mean, look, we both smoke a bit of dope, all right? We always have. I didn't see anything wrong with flogging a bit if I had it, but we'd never touch smack or deal in it. The same goes for crack, ecstasy, any of that kind of stuff.
We won't argue moral codes just now, sir. Tell us about Walters. Did he know that you were at his place?
No. I knew he wasn't there much, and I was nervous travelling on the roads with you guys looking out for me, and I planned to stay there for a day or two and then just leave. He didn't know I was there.
In a tree, eh? Oh, blackberry bush, that's even worse, isn't it? Hey. Well, don't you worry, Mrs. Farris. We're sending our cat squad over to you right away. Not at all, Mrs. Farris, not at all. Constable Patterson will have Inky back to you in no time whatsoever.
Isn't your shift over?
I just thought I'd make up some time from earlier.
Well, not with that face you won't. You'll scare people away. Go on, nick off home. You think they're lying about Walters?
Yep. But between them, they seem determined not to dob him in.
They scared of him, do you think?
Maybe.
Do you think he tipped them off?
Well, I'm sure of it. But unless we can get it on paper, we can't prove anything.
Well, if he gets away with this one, he'll have me on his tail from now on. Any move he makes. If he's gone wrong, sooner or later, we'll get him.
That bitch just rang me up and sacked me.
Chris isn't a bitch.
Yeah, well, whatever she is. Suppose you get a bit paranoid in her position.
What did she say to you?
She seems to think she has some sort of proof that I'm fiddling the till.
Were you?
Of course not. You believe me, don't you?
The only way to sort this out is if we both go and speak to Chris about it.
I increase the profits, I liven the place up, and this is the thanks I get. You're making a big mistake.
I don't think so, Melissa. You were the only person who had access to the till.
There are other people behind the bar. How do you know it wasn't one of them? You don't have eyes in the back of your head.
Let's just drop it, eh?
I'm going to Sydney. You could come with me if you like.
What for?
What for? Well, if you don't know, I can't tell you. Only I can't think of anything much more boring than life as a cop in a country town.
You took the money, didn't you? I'm asking as me, not a cop. Nothing comes of it.
What if I did? I worked hard. She owed me a bonus.
And the alcohol?
Auntie Val likes her gin. And Chris is hardly going to notice it with a whole pub full of booze. Adam.
And your mum and dad thought I'd be a bad influence on you.
Who would have thought, eh?
I'm glad you were wrong.
So am I. Gotta tell you, I was worried.
Everything got out of hand, everyone jumping to conclusions.
That's what we're paid for.
Chris, I'll pay for the bottles of spirits Melissa took. It's mainly gin, I think.
You? Why?
I couldn't bear to say anything to her Auntie Val. I'll pay for it.
If you really want to.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
I'll have a beer, thanks. My little mate here will have one of his specials, you know, the things with the umbrellas.
No, I won't.
They're off anyway.
Can I have a beer, please?
Hey, what happened to Melissa?
She was skimping from the till. You don't sound surprised.
Well, it happens, doesn't it? Actually, that must be hard on you, Chris. Trusting people around cash and grog.
Yeah, but you've got to, don't you? Otherwise you spend your whole life looking over your shoulder, worrying about people and suspecting them. I'd hate that.
Yeah, but you're more likely to get ripped off that way.
So be it. You trust people and you keep your eyes open. That's my final offering on the subject. Publican shouting.
Good on you.
Why did you suspect Melissa?
The ABC of policing can't let them keep it.
And what's that?
Mate, what do they teach you blokes these days? A, accept nothing. B, believe no one. C, check everything.
So, you glad you were wrong about Sean?
There's still a few things that bother me. Word is, he gambles more than he lets on.
Whose word would that be?
One or two people. They say he borrows money, get himself through the payday.
You think this is information that needs to be acted upon?
Maybe. Something to take on board, something to watch.
You wouldn't just a little be trying to live Maggie's life for her?
Me? Maybe it is just talk. But it's not.
He's a strange guy, the old PJ. Well, at least he wanted to find out the truth instead of just believing I was crooked.
Oh, it's probably just easier. There's too many forms to fill in if you're bent. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that.
What did you mean?
He's a good man, he's good at his job. But in the end, PJ is the only one that counts with PJ.
So?
So don't overrate what he did.
Okay. What about you? If I was crooked, would you be there with the handcuffs reading me my rights?
So you want to be handcuffed, detective?